everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 6 of From Hope to Glory at Truro City with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So, a little bit of a change of schedule in our fixture list means that we come back and play Accrington Stanley today. I think we were going to originally play someone slightly different. Cup games have meant a reshuffle in the fixture list. So, Accrington Stanley, easy for me to say, in the SkyBet League 2. There's also a little bit of transfer business having just come out of the January transfer window to talk about, so let's get into it. Welcome back to Truro City. So yes, if you're new here and have not seen many of my videos before, let me know in the comments below. Say hi, introduce yourself. If you're a returning viewer, then welcome back. Always great to have you along for the ride. Either way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then please do that and click the notification bell. That will help you keep up to date with the videos that I release. And maybe click a like on this particular episode for me. That helps me to continue to grow the channel as well and really impacts the YouTube algorithms really positively. So if you could do those things, that'd be great. But welcome back to another episode in our Truro City save. We started in Tier 7 of English football. We've got all the way up into the Football League proper, into League 2, the 4th tier of English football. And we've been doing fantastically well this season. Little bit mixed in the last few weeks, but not too bad at all. We still remain in second position in the league. 2 games in hand over the opposition as well. We are currently 7 points behind the leaders Southend, but I'm not so worried about that. If we could finish in this top 3, that would be incredible and get automatic promotion. Even if we finish in the playoffs, it might be a little bit disappointing overall, having sat in the top 3 for most of the season, but considering we were predicted 19th as a finish, I will happily take anywhere in that top 7, and I think that's completely doable at this point. We've still got quite a few games left, probably another dozen or so games, and we are currently 11 points clear of losing our playoff position at the very least. So all looking really, really good. First off today though, let's check in with that little bit of transfer news. So we didn't lose anybody in terms of people going out of the club. If you remember, we had an issue going into the January transfer window that both our Carraleros, Silla and Bukok, were both injured for about 5 or 6 weeks. So I wanted to find a little bit of cover and maybe a little bit of a step up in quality as well if I could. And I think I've possibly found it. And it comes in the form of Jordan Rossiter. Now the name might be familiar to a few of them. He's 27 years old, but if we go and look at his career stats, he started at Liverpool as a youngster, went through Rangers in Scotland before eventually landing at Fleetwood for the last few seasons and has done okay for them. Now, what I would say is that he's got some gaps because at this level we're all going to have the gaps in terms of the players that we bring in. But he's a 3.5-star player in the terms of the roles that we want him to play in. And that is better than what I've currently got. And I think all round, especially in his mental attributes, I think he's pretty decent compared to what we've got. A little bit lacking in the physicals maybe, but we're just asking him to basically sit in that midfield position, cut down all the chances that are created by the opposition just in front of those central defenders and see if he can just shore us up a little bit. He hasn't started brilliantly. He's played 2 games and 2 sub appearances, only a 6.65 average rating, so you can see it's a little bit hit and miss. But when we go and have a look at the pre-match tactics in a second, there's a couple of things that we need to talk about in terms of other players that are struggling as well. So we're not totally in the best position with all of our players, but as a group they are performing brilliantly well. So before we go and check out the pre-match tactics, let's see what happened in the last month. So the last game that you and I were together for was this 3-1 win against Stockport. We've been through the January game since then. You can see that we did have a bit of a blip in the middle of it, or towards the end of it, but also there were some very good wins earlier on and some pretty decent goals scored as well. So if we go through them, we've played Cheltenham, Fleetwood and Carlisle and got 3 very good wins. Always lost a goal, and that's something that we need to talk about a little bit in the pre-match tactics, because there is an issue in the defence a little bit. but we scored a bucket load. And again, if you go on Striker Watch, which is what I love to do through here, we've got 4 main strikers, and they're all really scoring goals a lot, other than maybe one of them has dropped off a little bit. So Hull scored 3 in the game against Cheltenham. We got Andrew Neil scored in the game against Fleetwood. He got 2. Then in the game against Carlisle, Hull and McJanet both scored, and McJanet got a couple. McJanet followed it up in the 3-1 loss to MK Dons. MK Dons are a decent side, and they really did demonstrate it. We were at home, but we just were awful on the day. They really put us to the sword, and we were never in that game whatsoever, and it dented the confidence a little bit, enough to go on a couple of draws after that, Chesterfield and Newport. But again, you can see that Hull in the Newport game got a couple of goals, and finally he scored another one against Tranmere. In and around that, he's been ably supported by a few other players. Hull has been the main goal scorer, but Charlie Ball is off the ball a little bit. He's caused himself a little bit of a problem. He came to me complaining he wasn't getting enough games. He was scoring a few goals, so I put him in a few of these matches, and he didn't do enough. And so he's going to potentially be a little bit unhappy that the promises I made of giving him some first-team football, which he didn't repay me by good performances in, might have come and gone. We might have to move him on. We'll have to see, but that's for the summer. For now, we get Accrington Stanley. And if we go and have a look, they're sitting 11th. Let's go and have a look in the league actually itself. And you can see they sit in 11th position, 47 points after 33 games. We've played 32 on 65 points, which is fantastic. And it's our superior goal difference that is really driving us forward. And those strikers, Aaron Hull sitting in 2nd place in the goal scoring list in the division. Accrington Stanley's Giovanni Richard is the top one though, and we come up against him today. He's got amazing finishing for this level, hasn't he? Couple of other gaps though, a little bit lacking in pace. Maybe the mentals could be better, but 28 goals in 23 starts and 12 sub appearances ain't half bad, is it? He's also topping the average rating as well, so we're going to have to watch out for him today. But I think overall we should be pretty happy. We have occasional blips, but ultimately we are doing fantastically well for what was predicted. Let's see how we get on today. So we do have a couple of injury issues. Number one, unfortunately, is our goalkeeper, Alfie Roberts. He's going to be out for another 6 days or so. He's been out for a little while. Belshaw has come in and done okay for us, but he is a bit of a miss, to be honest, Roberts. He's a decent goalkeeper at this level, and he has been out for a little while, but he's back hopefully in about a week, so that's not too bad. Bucock is one of the two. Silla was the other, if you remember. He's on the bench today. Bucock doesn't make it quite. He's still just returning from his long-term injury of like 5 or 6 weeks or whatever it was, so he doesn't make the lineup at all today. And the other injury that we've got, unfortunately, is DiMaggio Wright Phillips on our right side of midfield, and he's going to be out for another couple of days. He's been out for a couple of weeks, unfortunately. Again, Knowles has come in and done reasonably well, but it's still not quite the same as having your first team 11 out when at this level, is it really? The couple of things that I really wanted to mention though before we actually play the game is that you can see that Rossiter comes in the Carolero role and hasn't started brilliantly for us. If we go to look at Silla 6.71 and Bucock 6.64, you can see that role is causing us a problem in terms of trying to find the best kind of player to play it. Maybe we need to change the role, but I quite like the balance of what it produces. But the actual performance of the player in it hasn't been brilliant. But the more important one, I think, to be honest, and the one that I'm most concerned about, especially in those draws that we had recently, is the Dan Bowery or Kazoo role on this right side of our partnership in central defence. Neither one of those players, Bowery on a 6.67 and Kazoo on a 6.69, have been playing particularly well. The other side, Whitmore and Stavro are on that side, have played pretty decent. When I've put Stavro in on that right hand side, he hasn't done particularly well either. Today, for the first time actually, I've changed the Bowery role. We've gone for a no-nonsense centre-back on cover duty. So we're going to just sit a little bit deeper with him and see if he can cover the space that Whitmore leaves by going and pressing the ball a little bit. And just seeing if we can get a slightly different type of partnership and the roles playing well together. That's the intention anyway. We'll have to look out for that as we go along. Everybody else is pretty much fit, although having said that, Rogers has lost his spot to Fink and the right fullback position as well for today. So there are a few changes around, but that's good. We've got competition for places. We just need to up the average rating of a couple of these central players in defence and midfield, and I think that can really help us. So watch out for that today as we go through the game. So for today's match against Accrington Stanley, we have Belshaw in goal, Fink at right back, Devine at left back, Bowery and Whitmore in central defence, Rossiter and Walker in central midfield, Knowles on the right, D'Souza on the left, Hull and McJanet up top, with a bench of Stavrou, Dunlan, Silla, Williams, Duke McKenna, Salam and Ball. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So I pumped my fists and I played the media card today. The media have given you a lot of credit recently. Go and put on a worthy display. Let's see if they can manage it at home against a mid-table opposition. They're going to prove a bit tricky here and there, you would imagine. But I would hope that we would be able to put on a performance enough to get us through the game and potentially win these 3 points, keep our march towards the top of the league going. But it's Accrington Stanley who have the first opportunity. A nice sweeping ball over the top on this right-hand side into the box. And eventually it goes out for a corner kick. Corner kick from the near side goes into the 6-yard box and it goes straight at Belshaw, fortunately. And he claims the ball quite nicely. He's done okay since Alfie Roberts has been out. But again, it's not quite as good as just having a first choice goalkeeper, is it? Unfortunately. But there we go. That's why we have a squad of players. And occasionally we need to use them. Belshaw goes long to Hull. Hull wins the ball. McJanet, can he get on the end of it? He can, but he just can't quite keep the ball maybe on the floor. And then it looked like it's an offside decision anyway. If he'd have kept it on the floor, maybe the goalkeeper would have struggled a little bit more. But yeah, unfortunate. We're still having the issue, unfortunately, even though you can see today that I'm playing McJanet in his preferred position of poacher, and that was one of the rules of the loan that I had. His manager keeps calling me up, telling me that I'm not playing him in his preferred position of poacher, and he's unhappy, which is just ridiculous. I don't understand it at all, but there we go. We can see that Accrington Stanley get a good opportunity to work down the left-hand side, eventually get the ball into the box, and they put it away for 1-0. One thing that I am noticing today, I don't know if you can see it, on the screen there's little patches of the background from the home page that are showing through. Lots of lines all over the screen. That happens very occasionally with this skin that I'm using. Apologies for that today. There's not much I can do about it other than restart the game to change it, and I don't really want to do that now that I've started to record. So we're just going to have to get on with that, unfortunately. But we've reached half time and we're 1-0 down after the first half, and they have kind of been fairly dominant. I mean, we've had more possession, but they've had 12 shots at goal and 7 on target, 4 and 2 for us, which is not good enough at all. Not happy with that performance. I'm actually going to thrash the arms around and tell them that I'm not pleased. That motivates them, which is good. And as soon as we get back out, we get to go in and fire the entire team up and just see what we can do. We're going to change from balanced into positive, try and get on the front foot a little bit more. It is our home game after all. We should be able to potentially dominate this in a better way than we are. Still, the chances are not particularly coming, and it's a left-sided throw-in for Accrington, and we get a partial clearance, a good clearance in the end. Hull makes it, that drops deep, comes and claims the ball, sends it out wide left to D'Souza, gets past his marker into the box, takes a shot, he doesn't, he crosses it onto the head of McJanet, and it's offside again. Second time in the game, McJanet has gone through on goal, but has moved too early. and has been offside, and that's quite a distance really on that particular one. And again, we're left very disappointed. We're moving into the 70-minute mark. We're going to have to make a couple of changes here, personnel-wise. I might even change the shape. We're going to go back into our 4-2-3-1 formation. And I just need to make sure that they're all in the roles that they need to be. They are. Other than we're going to switch Hull and McJanet over, and then in the McJanet role, we're going to bring Salam on, and then we're going to switch D'Souza into the attacking central midfield role. So that's how we're going to play that. And then we've got a couple more changes that we can make. Again, that defensive unit, other than the left fullback who always outperforms everybody else, whether it's Dunlan or Devine, the other three not doing good enough. It's just not good enough. It's driving me nuts to find a good partnership in that central defensive unit. Anyway, and we've also got Rossiter again not performing well in his first few games at the club, which is disappointing to see. So Silla can come back in, having recently come back from an injury. We'll give him a few minutes to see if we can boost his match sharpness back again. But it's those two positions, right side of of the central defence and that right side of that central midfield. We are not finding the players that we need, unfortunately, or not getting a performance out of the players that we've got, more to the point. And another opportunity for Accrington Stanley with a good deep corner. We do get it cleared, but they win the ball. Hull tries to win it back, but it goes back to Accrington Stanley. We've got a throw in on that far side. Devine with a long throw. And it's safely into the arms of the goalkeeper for Accrington. And again, we just look a little bit toothless today. So we're going to again change it up, go to the attacking. The reason I changed to the 4-2-3-1, I wanted that extra person in that central midfield to see if we can try and wrestle that sort of area away from them. Again, apologies for all the patterns all over the screen. That's disappointing when this... I might have to change the skin if it happens more regularly. But 10 minutes to go, and we're still really kind of struggling to break this Accrington side down. We've got one more chance, maybe. Salam down the left-hand side, skips past his full-back, but then he comes back on him. It wasn't even the fullback, it was the winger, I think. And he just outdid him. We pick up the ball in midfield, try to go over the top. It doesn't quite work. They've gone long themselves. Stavro eventually, I would like him to have maybe slowed the pace down a little bit, but he didn't. And I'm now really, really grateful that he didn't. A really long, good ball down that right-hand side. It shows you don't have to be short to be good in your passing. You can be long and pass well if the accuracy is there. It was a really great ball, a good run by Knowles, and a very good cross, and an easy-ish header for Hull in the end, not really tightly marked, and the goalkeeper had gone a little bit astray, and we do come back into the game with a couple of minutes left. Is there one more chance for us? There isn't. I think we're going to have to accept it today. We were not quite at our best. And again, we look through this side. Defensively, we were not good enough. And offensively, only a couple of them really showed up. Little bit disappointing, wasn't it? McJanet, very quiet. Rossiter, very quiet. D'Souza, not at his best today. Hull and Knowles really dug us out with the assist from Stavro down that right-hand side. If they hadn't, we would have taken a 1-0 loss. I'm a bit disappointed. I think the stats from the game are going to suggest that we were just not quite at the races today, if I'm honest. Possession was all right. You know, we had 56%. That's not too bad. Pass completion, 77%. I'm learning that anywhere around that is kind of average for this particular group of players in this setup at the moment. So that's all right. 1.19 XG rating. We were a little bit lucky. Accrington got a 1.53. We're pushing for that second goal occasionally. Of course, we did have 2 goals disallowed for offside. McJanet moving slightly too early just as the ball was coming through. So we were a little unlucky in that regard. But even so, they had 16 shots at goal and 9 on target. 12 and 4 for us. I would have liked a few more on target specifically. If we'd have bumped that up to maybe 6 or 7, maybe we would have got another decent chance in there. But we didn't, and we came away with a 1-1 draw in the end. Again, what we notice is that our average positions are often higher up the pitch than our opposition are, and that's the case again today. We did push them in a little bit, but we just couldn't find the quality as we moved into the final third. Here's our group of 12 shots or whatever it was that we had. A decent bunch in that central area of the penalty box. If we enlarge this a little bit, you can see 3 here with the X in all meant that we missed the target, which is really disappointing. There's a 4th one on this side as well, all in and around that penalty spot, and we missed the target from that point. That's where we didn't win the game, basically. We had those chances and we didn't make them count. Accrington, in the end, had a few more decent chances down this right-hand side of the penalty box to the top of the 6-yard box. Again, potentially they could have scored more themselves. Little bit of a disappointing goal-scoring game, really. Hull, in the end, got our best performer, which you'd kind of expect, really, getting that late equaliser. But overall, it was not a particularly good performance. I am really kind of disappointed with it. Here's the goal that we got right in that 6-yard box. A simple tap-in the end from the header from Hull, wasn't it? From a very good cross from Knowles down the right-hand side. Those off-target shots, and a couple from Hull, one from McJanet and another one from Stavrou. They should have been on target at least. We didn't hit the woodwork. We had 3 saved and we had 4 blocked. So the defence did their work a little bit. The goalkeeper did his work a little bit. And it left us a little bit frustrated, or more to the point, me a little bit frustrated. So into the passing, we completed these passes, which... yeah, still don't know what you're supposed to make of that screen. Intercepted 10 of them. We're not so bothered about the clearances, but these ones here, little bit disappointed, that we couldn't quite make some of these count a little bit more and keep the work in this final third going. That's where we seem to lose it today, in that final third. We had 1 pass blocked. We had 74 unsuccessful ones. Again, we forget the clearances from the keeper. We forget the throw-ins. It's these ones in here that in this final third today, we just didn't quite manage it, unfortunately. And there's a bunch here that are very disappointing, that we didn't quite manage to get it to its intended target after getting into the box. So the cutbacks, the pullbacks, the little whipped crosses, obviously not quite doing its job today. A couple went out, and then we had 9 key passes. So we did get it in there occasionally. And again, in that final third, the quality just wasn't there today. And that's kind of what lost it for us. There's no reason to look any further than that. We weren't good enough in front of goal, and occasionally we made that move from McJanet a couple of seconds too early and strayed into the offside position. Eventually, we got a decent enough 1-1 draw, having been down that goal. It wasn't really that inspired today. I'm a little bit disappointed. So just before we go into the schedule and figure out what's coming next episode, it's just worth having a look at the league. We're still sitting in that 2nd position, of course, having got another point from today's match. Get rid of that off the screen. Grimsby sit in 3rd, just behind us, 3 points behind, but we've still got that game in hand now. And Southend haven't played their game for this particular weekend, so we caught up 1 game on them, and of course didn't quite make it count. So we are still 6 points behind them at the moment. That's going to be a tricky thing to drag them back, I think, a little bit, but we'll give it a good go. The rest of it, I think we're looking pretty decent still, to be honest. It was a disappointing day today, but ultimately, the big picture is it's still remarkably good compared to what we should be going through at this point in the season, really. So let's just go back into the schedule and figure out what we're coming back for. We're approaching the end of the season now, really. Couple of months worth of full-time football to go, and then a little bit at the beginning of May. So we're going to come back at the very beginning of March. There's probably only a couple more games that I want to play in this particular season. I think that we're looking decent for at least a playoff position, maybe automatic promotion. So we're going to come back. Let's come back for the Morecambe game. If we come back for the Morecambe game, then we'll also then come back for the Wrexham game to finish. We'll play those two for the remainder of this season and just see how we get on and see whether we end up in that playoff or in a maybe even an automatic promotion spot. So those are the two that we're going to come back for. So next episode, Morecambe. Hope you'll join me for that. But today, yeah, it is what it is. We didn't quite make it count, but we're still marching forward in a much better position than we should potentially be. We've still got the FA Trophy to come as well. We might have to play a final for that. So if we do, I might chuck that in an episode somewhere. But primarily the focus has to be on this league. Can we get out of this division this season? What do you think? In the comments below, let me know where you think we're going to finish this season. That's going to do it for today, though. Thank you for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. Help me get seen by lots more people. Helps the YouTube algorithm, all that kind of good stuff. Until next time, though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.